Hi, everyone. Welcome to Parenting in the Trenches. I am Tanya Farron, one of your hosts tonight, and I'd like to welcome my co-host and partner, Dr. Qureshi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here today, the week before Christmas slash going into the new year. And wow, a lot has happened this year, and I'm pretty sure most of you can say a lot has happened this year, right? Uh, we're ending. 2025 is ending, literally, right? How many days do we have left? 12, 18?
Something, yes.
28, 10, 13 days. 13 days. I'm not that bad at math, like I thought. So tonight's episode is one that's very close and dear to our hearts, and it is a time during the holiday season. I believe, last year we had talked about grief and loss during the holiday season as well. And this year we kind of revamped it up a little bit. So today's topic is the masks that we wear during the holidays. So Dr. Tanya, so when we came up with this topic, right? What were your initial thoughts?
Well, and I can tell everybody, we were in a 2350 network meeting, and we were talking about this topic. And my thoughts, I went directly to children, students, the mask that we wear during the holidays. Not every child goes home to a holly jolly festive home for a lot of reasons. And so, my heart immediately went to our children in our world. Not everybody has the same home life. And, what they experience at home is very different, And so some kids do. There's a wide spectrum of the way families are able to manage and handle the holidays as a family.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Dr. Qureshi's take was a little different, and happy to say that, which makes us a great mesh, right?
Yeah, it truly does, right? But we both work with children and families, right? Like you deal with it on the education end, I deal with it on the therapy, mental health end, right? But like those systems, right? These are communities, right? We've talked about building a village, we've talked about building a community. It takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to heal a child, right? Our children are our future, and at one point we were children. So when we talk about like where my thought process was, and I have to be very transparent, not that I'm not, most of the time I am, but today most of you, just a disclaimer, if it is your first time on our Parenting in the Trenches podcast, you see me very authentically, and today it's going to be like double triple authentic. Why? Because my grief is very heavy. It is the highest that it is during the year. I can feel it in my bones. That's how heavy my grief is. And I think in thinking about what we wanted to talk about today, part of my dialogue in my brain was, you know what? I don't want to go on a podcast and talk about joyous stuff. I want to make room for those who are struggling like me. And today I wear this mask in front of you. And I think the mask looks great, right? I have my MAC lipstick, I got my little earrings, my hair done, right? But when I take this mask off, which I hope you get to see a little bit today, you'll see the wounds, the pain, the authenticity, the vulnerability in it because it's hard. The holidays are very hard for me. And this show episode is dedicated specifically for those of you who are feeling the way that I'm feeling.
I love
Right?
that. Thank you for sharing that. I really do.
And I'm sure, Dr. Tanya, you've had experiences in your life where you've had a holiday season that was hard, that did change, right? So so I think in acknowledging all of that, I want to really honor those individuals and families who first and foremost have lost a loved one this year. And then I want to honor those families who's lost a loved one during this season. People that have actually passed away during the holiday season, which is why it makes it hard to celebrate because it's tied into a death anniversary.
Right. And, you know,
I went deep. I went deep. I'm sorry. I went too deep too early.
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't think that you did at all. I mean, this is our conversation that we had the other night as we were prepping for this, is that, you know, there is a lot of pain right now, especially in your life, you know, and what you choose to share, I'm not going to bring up, but what you choose to share with the audience, I would love for you to share as much as you would like, but I know the grief that you're going through, and it is hard. And I've recently had a friend who's lost a parent, and you know, someone who's lost an uncle this past week. And it's hard to lose family or friends any time of the year, but the holidays, like you said, it brings that memory back every year. And even if it doesn't bring that memory back, you're feeling that empty seat at the table, that empty spot, that empty memory, that empty, you know, those things that, you know, you would be maybe missing. And again, I always go back to our children. You know, we think our children are so resilient, and they are-ish.
They are.
They are, but they hurt too, and they remember too, and they feel too. And so I think it's important for us to also know that just because of our children that go to school every day or that are in our homes are excited that Santa is coming, they may also be feeling things that they don't understand what they're feeling. And sometimes I think that's the tricky thing with grief, right? You don't know what you're feeling. Maybe you're just on edge today, Dr. Q. Are you just a little on edge today, or just don't feel yourself? But maybe you don't know what it is. Maybe you're like, well, maybe this is my grief. Maybe I'm actually sad. Right?
Yeah.
And that happens with a lot of people. And I think we have to remember that as just citizens, right? We never know who we are talking to and what has happened in their life that day, that year, and approaching it with just some sensitivity. And I think that's important.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say, like, at this point in life, with everything that's going on in people's lives, people have been through things. You're not gonna come across anyone, at least in my experience, okay? But one can say, Dr. Q, you're a therapist. People come to you that have pain. But I'm also a human, and I know that I haven't met anybody that hasn't experienced pain. I haven't met anybody that hasn't experienced loss. I haven't met anybody that hasn't experienced some form of trauma, right? Would I be able to say that when I was younger? Absolutely not, right? Like there's something in life that happens, wisdom, whatever you want to call it, where you recognize these are things that are part of life. Yet there are some of us who have more intensity or frequency in our lives, right? And then there's others of us where we have more protective factors that keep us safer, right? So that we can actually work through those things. So we're not as impacted that heavily from the grief and loss, because we are getting the love of loved ones, right? So I think during the holiday season, it's really tough because it's in your face. right? Like throughout the year, yeah, things happen, birthdays come up, events happen, but in the holiday season, the message is family, family, family. Get together with your family, get together with your friends, cherish your loved ones. You don't know, everybody gathers together, right? They come from all over the world sometimes,
Yeah,
right? People traveling from one state to
sure.
another, right? But what about that person who doesn't have somewhere to go?
Hmm.
What about that person, that child, adult child, whose home was their parents' home and they're no longer here and their siblings are all scattered?
Hmm.
What about that husband, wife, partner who's lost their soulmate?
Hmm. There's so many scenarios. It could be a divorce. It could be, a breaking up of a family, right?
Mhm.
These patterns, routines, these people aren't in our lives the way they used to be. And, there's a lot to it, a lot to it. We also brought up some other things, people who are living with abuse, have been abused. Maybe they've had to leave their home for abuse, different scenarios like that. And they're not in their normal place that they've been in. That can be very difficult for them. People who are struggling with addiction or living in an addictive home can be really challenging for them. And
Mhm.
that was one of the things that we talked about, is that children that are in school not always are excited to leave school when the holidays happen, because maybe their home life is not as conducive for them. There may be addiction, there may be abuse in the home, and now they're having to be there. Or maybe they know
Mhm.
that the holidays bring Uncle so and so who's going to drink more and maybe cause a fight. I mean, there's lots of things that people are not always excited about the holidays, yet we put these masks on that we're excited about them, but
Mhm.
we may not be. So it's important to acknowledge that. I just want to acknowledge our amazing audience today. Thank you so much for joining us and participating. Christy Williams, thank you for being here. Linda, Jackie, Leslie Flowers, David McDuffie,
Yeah.
thank you for being here. I appreciate you all so, so much, very much. Brandy, thank you for being here. Jay, and then there is a LinkedIn user. I'm not sure who that is. So if you'll put your name after
I
that,
think it's Damien.
it
Someone
could
someone called him out last year. I think it's Damien.
it
I'm
could
gonna
be
go with
Damien. There's
Damien.
other people too, possibly, but I want to just acknowledge and make sure that we all saw this. And I'm very sorry, Leslie, to hear about your little sister passing on Monday.
So sorry, Leslie. My heart goes out to everyone
Yeah.
that has experienced grief and loss. And
Thank you for sharing that with us, Leslie. Thank you.
thank you so
Yeah.
much.
We'll be thinking of you for sure over the
Yeah.
holidays. Yeah.
So when we talk about these masks, right, during the holidays, Dr. Tanya, um, one of the masks that we wear is the mask of joy and laughter, right? Like even in my own world right now, right? Getting ready to do this podcast, showing up, seeing clients, right? Like even talking about hard things, right? We have to be able to wear masks to be able to show up in this world, right? And I think it's difficult when you have to leave it on all the time. And there are people out there during the holiday season. Think about how many of us actually put on that mask and go to holiday gatherings
Hmm.
when we don't want to. And then we smile
Hmm.
at people we don't want to smile at. Or we say we're okay when we're not.
You
And
know, yeah, go ahead.
and I think what I want to add here, and then I would love to hear what kind of masks you wear during the holiday.
Mhm, mhm,
um, and then you know what's crazier about it? It's the message that's normalized about conflict that you should get over it. It's the holiday season.
mhm.
This is what the holidays are about: forgiveness, coming together, love, right? So there's this message we get from, let's just say, other family members that want you to dismiss, overlook, and forgive the hurt and pain that may have happened
Mhm.
without even acknowledgement of what may have happened.
Yeah.
Like the normalization of conflict. Oh, that's families have a love and hate relationship. But
Mhm,
why? Why does hate have to be there, right?
mhm. Right. Right. Yeah, and I think, so you asked me what masks do I wear. I'm the most of the time I'm fine, everything's going to be fine mask, right? Is that a mask? I don't know. I just made that be a mask right now. And so it is, that is definitely one that comes on, especially over, when you have the conversations that you just don't want to have. And this is where I'm around about kind of getting to this answer here. When you go someplace and you think, I really don't want them to ask me about this, but I know they're going to ask me about this.
Mhm.
Maybe it's a situation that happened. Maybe it's your physicalness. Maybe it's your body shape. Maybe it's your body type. Maybe it's whether you lost weight or you didn't lose weight or something like that, right? And then you go, I don't really want to talk about this, but I know they're going to ask me. I'll give you
Mhm.
another example. Kids that are planning to go to college. I always go back to the kids, and this is a mask that they have to wear when they go someplace. They do not always want to be asked about where are they working, who's their boyfriend, and where are they going to school. Those are not questions that they want to have grandma ask them. They don't want to have Uncle so-and-so ask them. They don't want to talk about that stuff. And I
Mhm.
know that brings kids anxiety, right? And just like other things, like maybe their health, maybe they have, OCD about something and they don't want to be near a person, or they don't want,
Mhm.
worried about the food line. Like there's so many things, right? That we put this, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, everything's fine mask on for, but
Mhm.
we don't really want to have those conversations or have those experiences with people, right? And
Mhm.
so some of those masks I think are hard. Um,
That
as
brings
far as,
me,
go ahead.
I mean, that brings me to another mask, which is the mask of kindness. And when people ask you or
Mhm,
comment on something that they shouldn't
mhm,
be commenting on, you have to be kind and respectful because of A, B, and C,
mhm,
right? So like as you're talking about this, right? Especially about the weight gain, weight loss, body image, all of that, right? And I can speak on this from my own community.
mhm,
Okay. Our Pakistani community, there are just certain things that our elderly aunties and uncles say that they have no business saying.
right. That's my
And
point. That's a perfect way to say it.
and weight is one of them.
Yep.
So, I myself have seen a fluctuation time period in gaining weight, losing weight, etc., feeling good, not feeling so good.
I don't know. You
I
pick a
lie to you
woman that
not.
hasn't.
Yeah, right? Any person, right? I lie to you not. Every time I'm getting ready to go to a Pakistani event, I have to mentally prepare myself to have somebody ask me, especially if I've gained weight, put on a few pounds. Oh, what you been doing? Oh, it looks like, and I'm like, so when we talk about masks, I actually have to be nice and gentle because these are like my mom's friends, right? And I grew up in front of them. They saw me blossom into this person, right? So I can't be like, Auntie, can you watch what you're saying? The things that are coming out your mouth are just really inappropriate. So, like, even being kind or being nice about how other people are showing up too, right? Like it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard. And Leslie here, I want to note you started a conversation about like possibly changing the
Yes,
term
yes,
mask
yes.
to something else. And again, I think we can name it a lot of different things. And for the
Mm-hmm.
this conversation today, right? Like for us, the masks that we're talking about are the ones that we want to take off.
Mm-hmm.
The masks that we're talking about are the ones that we put on so that our authentic self at any given moment is not shining through, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to note that there, even though, there's a lot of parts of us that we do have to integrate in terms of our emotions, our lived experiences, right? I think the goal for me is to just note that it's okay not to have a mask on. And if we all start practicing it, I think more of us will become comfortable with being authentically raw.
Right. I agree. And I think that's our lesson. So as Dr. Qureshi and I talk about this, we always want to give you strategies. We always want to give you something that you can put in your toolbox and you can have that with you. And one of the things is, right, finding that courage in the way to say things that maybe you don't really want to talk about, and being able to say things without, I guess, being able to say things so you can take your mask off and
Mhm.
say that. So, so the body weight image or whatever, if somebody says something like that to you, it's okay to say, it kind of hurts my feelings. I have to remove the word kind of. I say the word kind of too much. It's like just like a filler for me, but I don't really mean it. You should say, that hurts my
It hurts my feelings.
feelings. That hurts my feelings when you talk to me about that.
Mhm. Or when you ask me that.
Or when you ask me that, it hurts my feelings or makes me feel uncomfortable. And that's all that has to be said. It doesn't have to be an argument. It doesn't have to be anything. This is just how I feel. This hurts my feelings. When you have, the loss of a loved one, whether it's immediate or it's been 10 years. I mean, I get it. My grandmother left the earth probably 14 years ago, and she was like the coolest grandmother you could ever have. And I can still just feel her presence, yet just burst into tears and miss her so terribly,
Mhm.
and I can only imagine, people who have lost their parents or a spouse or, anyone, obviously, if best friend, there's an emptiness, right? There's a hole there. And, and people always say things like, they try to bring you out of it, oh, you have the memories, or think about that, or let's do this in honor of them. And those are great and nice, but it doesn't replace it and it doesn't change it. And so being comfortable to be able to say, what, in this moment, I'm grieving this. I am sad right now. I am missing them. I am wanting them in my life again. I am feeling lonely. I think when we can start learning about words that we can say to help us express how we're feeling.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I think those are things like are uncomfortable for us too, right? Like somewhere
Yes.
somehow um we don't talk about it enough, so or like we're not taught how to show up when a friend's someone passes away, right? Nobody's having those conversations like what's the right thing to say, even though I think at any given moment one can debate the right we don't know what the right thing is. There is no right thing when it
There
comes
is
down to
none. Right.
death and loss, right?
Mhm.
Yet I do remember, like, I'll give you my example, right? So growing up, I remember when we had deaths in the family that weren't directly impacting me, right? And it's not that it wasn't impacting like my parents. It could be an aunt or an uncle or someone, family member. But because I didn't live with them, I wasn't impacted by them, right? So like I remember growing up, whenever we would have those experiences of loss and death, right? I would get uncomfortable. I would be like, I don't know. My dad would be like, call your cousin or call this person, someone such passed away. And I would be like, I don't know what to say to them. And my parents are the ones that dealt with all of that on the front line, right?
Mhm.
With the condolences, the prayers, all that good stuff. So it was really awkward. Um, and then when I experienced loss myself with both of my parents, right? Like now that language is like my second language, if not, it's my primary language. The language of grief, the language of compassion, the language of connection. Like it just comes so natural to me.
Mhm.
And you know, if we were talking about saying the right thing to someone during the holidays that has lost a loved one, the right thing would be to just validate where they are.
Mhm.
So if they say to you, yeah, you know, it's hard, and I'm like really feeling really sad,
Mhm.
an appropriate response would be, yeah, it is really sad.
Mhm.
Dealing
Yeah.
with grief comes with a lot of sadness, and you're gonna feel it. That
Mhm.
I add that when I listen when it comes to grief, Dr. Tanya, I am so straightforward, especially in my sessions nowadays during the holiday season. I don't sugarcoat. I tell my clients and myself, it's going to be rough the next few weeks. Are we
Mhm.
prepared for it? I don't
And
say it's going to be okay because I know they know it's going to be okay.
mhm.
It's going to be hard. You're going to feel it. As long as you're aware of it and you're allowing yourself to move through those emotions, you're grieving.
And I want to
And you're,
say you hit on a really key phrase, the season. Like this begins for some people when all of the decorations pop into the stores, right? The anticipation of the season starts happening, right? And then
Mhm.
people start feeling uncomfortable, concerned, worried, anxious, all of those things. And again, I bring it back down to those little kids. They don't always know what they're feeling. They don't really know how to express it, what they're feeling inside their body. It may
Mhm.
look to you like they're flipping and hopping and jumping around when really they just don't know what to do with this feeling that they have inside of them. And so, as
Mhm.
parents, we have to talk to them about these things and we have to kind of coach them through that. Again, I use the word kind of. We have to coach them through it and have to be able to say, let's talk about what you're feeling right now. Because if you're feeling it, then your kids are probably feeling it from you as well, right? If you're
Mhm.
feeling sad over the separation of the family, it's going to look different this year. Talk to them about that. Have that conversation, probably multiple times, probably about every event,
Yeah.
because again, when we're dealing with loss or grief, whether it's loss of a relationship, and all of us have been a part of that, right? We've all probably had someone, even whether it was your own personal spouse, but a brother-in-law or a sister-in-law who their marriage has dissolved and now there's an empty space in your family.
Yeah.
You know, Uncle Tim might have been the one that made everybody laugh and, did the jokes and dressed up like Santa or whatever. And now that space is gone and it'll never happen again, and there's a lot of things like that occur. And we have to remind our kids, how do we handle that? How do we tolerate that? How do we feel about that? And do we bring it up, right? Some people, and this is the piece of grief that you were talking about, some people want to talk about it. Some people do not want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Some people may want to talk about it today and may not want to talk about it tomorrow. And so I
Mhm.
think it's important to teach ourselves as well as, the people that you're with, your children, your family, your friends, it's okay to say, how are you feeling today? You know,
Mhm.
can I do to help you? I think that's a big thing. What can I do to help you? Is there anything I can do? Um, and find out, do they want to talk about memories of the past? Does that help them feel better? And I don't mean feel better, but does that bring them joy for that moment? Do they want to talk about them?
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to not talk about it today because it's bringing pain to them when they think about those memories? I think just increasing that sensitivity into the conversations that we're having is important.
Yeah, sensitivity, consideration, compassion, all of that. And in doing so, I think, especially during the holiday season, I think intentionality is very important
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that we know it's the season to be jolly, right? We know that has been going on as far back as we can remember, right? Yet, are we moving in intentional ways to look out for the ones we love and care about?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not about the gifts. I think we get so caught up with Black Friday. What are we gonna get? What are the kids' needs? What gift are we gonna get? Is it good enough or not? At the end of the day, it's not about the gifts at all. It's about the value of relationship and the time that you spend together. It's about the quality of time that you spend together. And sadly, there is so much going on in people's lives right now that it makes it harder to show up in those kind of ways. And then the holiday season, I mean, there's a reason why we call it the holiday blues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're also seeing a seasonal change. This is also where seasonal affective disorder comes in, right? So there's these environmental factors that are also impacting you.
Less sunlight. Yes.
Less sunlight at 5 o'clock. It looks
sunlight,
like it's
less daylight. Yes, right.
Right? So, like, you have this entire part of grief and loss that you're experiencing, and then you have the changes in the weather, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shorter days.
Right.
And then you have life stressors in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to navigate, especially as parents and caregivers, what are we getting for our children? Especially when we're struggling financially. What does that look like? How are we going to make it? I mean, there are families out there who can't afford the necessities of life. So the holiday season is very actually stressful. There are families out there that don't look forward to it. It's very stressful for them.
Absolutely. It's very stressful for them. And you know what? It's hard on the kids. They feel a need to compare themselves to other families, what other kids are getting for Christmas, what the gifts are that they're getting. The parents are feeling a pressure of making sure that they're getting the kids the best of this or the best of that, when, like you said, some families are really just looking to put food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do we handle that? That does put a mask on our face, right? We do put this mask on, maybe that we can afford things that maybe we can't afford, right? Maybe we extend ourselves with credit limits and things like that are causing us to, after the holiday blues, we're paying that off, right? And so people are stressed financially, due to making some decisions that they're making to try and use the gift piece to be bringing joy to them. Mm-hmm. And it can be really stressful for families, for marriage. It can be stressful for the parents that are in the marriage. They can be fighting, having disagreements, over spending. or not having enough to spend or paying bills. Like those are all things that can really create not the best holiday atmosphere. Not a whole lot of holly jolly going on in that house, right? When they're trying to put food on the table and buy all the gifts, and and not every family has a two-person, two-person income, a dual income. Some people have health conditions and they can't leave the house. They can't go to work. There's a lot of scenarios where there's a single family member that is working to provide for the family. That's not a choice, not by a choice saying, I'll work, you stay home with the kids. But there are other people that have disabilities and health conditions that don't make the holidays super easy for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And imagine like if it's a change, right? We did an entire 2 sessions on transitions and changes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
We
Think
did.
about like how any type of change from last year to this year, how impactful that is. That could be, moving to another state,
Mm-hmm.
right? That could be, like you mentioned, separation or divorce happening.
Yeah.
That could be, oh, we celebrated Thanksgiving at our grandparents' house, and it's not going to be the same this year because my parents are separated. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's so many things that come down the pipeline, and I think that as again, as you mentioned earlier, when we talked about transitions, like you have to prepare for them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to prepare for the holidays. And the preparation should start right when the holiday season ends for the next year.
Yes. And yes, because you know why? That's when you say, I'm not doing that again. Next year, we're doing this. And that's really what you have to do. Like, again, this is, in parenting in the trenches, we're talking about parenting, whether we're parenting adultish kids, adult kids, younger children, we need to have these conversations with them, right? And have this as a family. Say you have young kids together and you're in a family, reflect on the holiday. How was it? Maybe this is the first year you had holiday without dad or mom, for whatever reason, a health, a death, a divorce. What did we like? What did we not like? What are we going to do different? How did we feel? Like going into that, how did that make you feel? What can we do differently? What should we do? Maybe nothing. Having that conversation, I think, is really important. And then again, I was telling Dr. Qureshi, for us, starting tomorrow night, everyone, on a Friday night, we go 8 days straight. Man, it is fa la 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 to the end. However, I have told
Good luck to you.
I'll text you at the end and I'll be like, I'm in bed. However, there are some boundaries, and I call them boundaries for myself. I do put boundaries out for myself, and I have encouraged my adult daughters to make the ones you can go to. If you want to make them all and you choose to, terrific. If you can't, no sweat. Like, we're not making this a big issue, And so it's hard. And my heart just got very heavy. And this is silly. It's not silly because it's the way I feel. But we lost a dog on December 22nd, 3 years ago. And it's still hard. That day is still hard for our family, our whole family. Yeah. Everyone remembers.
We talk about pet loss.
Yes. I mean, it's really true. I mean, he was our family for 14 years and we still talk about him. We still talk about him at the holidays and how much fun he loved the holidays. He loved present opening time. He was in everybody's business. And it is just, it's hard. It's different, it's been different. But it's just, I think just really talking with your family and seeing the things that you feel. And I say that make you feel good, but also that you feel you can do. Because not everybody is the same. And in loss also is, our families change. When 10 years ago, I had a house full of kids. Now I wake up Christmas morning with my husband and no pets, just him and I, which is beautiful and wonderful, but it's different. And you reflect back on those years and those times when you had them, and they're precious.
Yeah, that also reminds me, I went all the way back to like when I was 6 year old.
I saw your
Okay.
brain. You went
Just
there. I
right
saw it.
now,
I
6 years
saw it
old,
go.
I went all the way back to Pakistan. And I remember our holidays, not Christmas holiday, but our
Right.
Islamic holidays. It was so many of us that we would lay carpets on the floor to have a feast. We didn't have big enough tables, room, and chairs for all 30, 40, 50 people.
Yeah.
So we would pick like a big room and actually serve on the floor. Like we're literally having a feast, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I remember those were the holidays. I remember that time my uncle was alive.
Yeah.
Well, all my parents' siblings were alive, and we actually got along with each other. The kids liked each other. And now it's totally different.
Sure.
Totally different. Even the way that the family celebrates holidays within the family, so different. Part of it has to do with changes in the family system. Part of it has to do with just society and evolution and, AI and social media, all these things coming down the pipeline. But there was something very valuable about, I don't know, 40, 50 people. Like, I never got bored growing up.
Sure. You had a big family.
But you know what? You put me in a room of more than 4, 5 people, after a while, my social battery would be like, when is everybody going home?
Yeah.
So speaking of that, right? Like you mentioned boundaries, right? You're telling your daughters, we have 8 days of festivities. You have autonomy. You guys are independent. You have your own thing going on. You showing up, not showing up does not impact me. I love you either way.
Correct.
Do your thing, right? I think culturally, everyone doesn't have that leverage either. Because I know in my culture, if your son or daughter doesn't show up for one reason or another, you're going to hear about it, right?
Yeah.
And then, not to mention, like, if you're supposed to bring something too, right? Like, yo, you didn't come, you usually bring this. But anyway, that's a different story. So, like, again, taking the cultural piece into consideration, right? Like you move differently, you celebrate differently, even though all the holidays have same theme, right? Food, love, family, and gathering, and prayer. Let's not forget the prayer, right? Those are the main things about holidays and celebrations. Yet, I think that first, being able to say no and prioritizing where you are going to show up and where you're not. Right? That's the message you're giving your kids, and you've taught them, right? That autonomy, right? And I think we should practice it. And that doesn't even have to deal with if there's any conflict, right? It seems like for you, Dr. Tanya, you guys have such a close knit family that all those 8 days are going to be awesome. It's just a matter of whether someone has that enough social capacity to keep showing up for those 8 days, because it can be exhausting, right?
Correct.
It's not a matter of they're avoiding someone who they have beef with, right? So I think prioritizing, but also keeping a tab on yourself and how you're doing mentally, physically, emotionally, and choosing places and surroundings and environments that are going to pour into you. Remember that. During the holidays. I know it's hard, but it's okay to say no.
Yes, it is.
Right? Ask yourself, if I am going here for a gathering, am I pouring into myself? Is this rejuvenating for me, or is it sucking me emotionally and mentally?
Mhm.
And give yourself permission to remove yourself. Because you deserve love and care for yourself.
Mhm.
And then in that, I'm always going to advocate for courageous conversations, right? Because I'm a relational therapist, trauma, all of that.
Yes.
In that, you have difficult conversations around what needs to happen for me to show up in those gatherings too.
Mhm.
I've been hurt. I've been excluded.
Mhm.
I've been invalidated. I've been demonized. Right? I need accountability for me to show up in this space again.
Mhm.
Ask for your need. And if it doesn't happen, you create your own community.
Right. And that is a perfect comment. If it's not happening, create your own space. And I love that because that's when we finally put ourselves first, right? And we say, this is what I am feeling, and this is what I need. And this is what I need. And that's really who you should be making feel the best is yourself, right? And in a loving manner. Like I can't handle this. We have people that have such strong anxiety, social anxiety, that being in these environments are hard. These conversations are tough for them sometimes. So advocating for somebody that you love, say, one of my nieces or my daughters or someone that I loved didn't want to talk about a topic, or they were concerned about this, I would tell, let's make sure that we're not doing this to this time. And if somebody asked of that of me, I would respect that. I think those are just respectful things. Now, if you can't be in an environment that's respectful of what you need, then don't go to the environment. It is that simple. You don't have to go. You don't have to go. But I think it's
It
important.
is, yet I think when you look at it in the context of, let's say, sibling relationship, right? Or spousal relationship, right? Where there is trauma, there is mistrust, betrayal, right? But you still have to show up for the holidays, right? What does that look like, right? Like, think about it. Like, I work with couples, I work with family members, right? They're celebrating the holidays, or they're together in the holidays season. They do have to show up in many ways in that same household. And I think your point is valid, right? When you can leave your house and go somewhere, you can say no. But imagine if it's happening in your own house, in your own relationships, right?
I
How
get
do
it.
you tap out and say, hey, by the way, I'm not cooking Christmas dinner, and we're not doing the jammies things because me and your, mom or dad or moms were beefing, right? Like it's yeah, but when we talk about the kids, right? It's the kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got to show up for the kids, right? So parents, how often do we have to pretend to be okay? Not only okay with what's going on with us, especially if we're grieving or feeling really anxious or depressed, but also when there's problem in the marital relationship. Then what do we do?
Yeah, that's a whole episode, Dr. Q. That is a whole episode right there because we're talking about the masks that the parents are wearing, the masks that the children are wearing, because I promise you, if you think you are hiding this from your kids, you are not. They hear a lot. They know what's going on in the home. And so they're putting a mask on too. And they're just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're really not even sure what the shoe might be, but they're waiting on it. So, being careful with things like that we are doing also, and also giving our kids false hope. I mean, let's think about that. right? Are we giving our kids false hope? Are we being the correct role models for our kids? That's a whole episode. I don't even know if we have time to even talk about that, but yes,
Well, that could be something we put on the topics for next year. For parenting in the trenches. I'm hopeful we will continue these
We
conversations.
will.
There's so much that I feel like we talked about today that I'm like, dude, I feel like we talked about so much, but talked about nothing specific.
Right.
Or maybe that's how I'm feeling, right? Like there's so much going on
yeah.
in this big brain of mine that I'm like, let me get those. Okay.
We have talked about a lot of it because there's a lot of different masks, and that is what we've been talking about, right? That people put on, children, adults, family members, things like that we put on. And so there are
the minute you leave the house, actually, never mind. I was gonna say the minute you leave the house, you're wearing a mask. I'm like, well, it can go the other way too. You walk into the house, you're wearing a certain mask. You know what I mean? Like
depends on the scenario.
Yes, it depends on the scenario. So we do have about 8-9 minutes left, and I think Dr. Tanya, for this last few minutes, I definitely want some takeaways, like specific ones. We talked about some of them already, but I want to make sure people aren't walking away feeling like, oh my God, Dr. Q and Dr. Tanya just dumped all this trauma, grief, and holiday on us. Like, what do we do now?
I didn't realize I had all this trauma and grief, and they just told me what I had. Now I don't want to go. I don't want to go to Christmas dinner. I don't want to go to New Year's.
Okay, guys. So here are some things to do to take care of yourself. Okay. So, and we can take turns, Dr. T.
Yeah, you're good.
So I want to loop back around to intentionality. Okay. Intentionality meaning check up on your friends. Be mindful of and aware, right? Like your close people that you love and adore, right? You know what their pain has been, what their grief, loss, and be intentional in checking up, but also creating room for them. And I'll give you my example. So I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but when it comes to the holidays, sometimes I don't post nothing because I'm in it. I don't got nothing nice to say, and I'm just like, oh my God, in my own little world, right? So Thanksgiving, I didn't do any posting. And Thanksgiving, I'm literally sitting at home, or like even a day or two before that, and I'm like, yo, I got no invitations, right? Like, what's going on? Where are my friends at? Like, what am I doing on Thanksgiving? And behold, right? One of my really good friends texts me 2 days before almost and says, hey, I actually decided to cook this Thanksgiving. So if you're free, come through. And I was so happy. I was like, I got at least one invitation. Someone loves me, right? But here's the backstory to that. Her grandma passed away last year. So she wasn't even planning on celebrating because that was their thing.
Oh.
So it wasn't like she was celebrating and didn't invite me and then all of a sudden invited me, right? Because I have friends that do care about me, you guys, okay, right? It was, she last minute decided to push herself to do something, and in that included me. Yeah. I couldn't make it out there, unfortunately, a whole different story. But like, check up on your people, be intentional, be inclusive. Mm-hmm. And if it's the other way around, reach out and have those conversations with your friends and tell them what you need, family members and friends. Like, this is what I really need this holiday season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Be authentic. Ask for what you need to help you get through this season.
Well, I want to say this too, and this is something you and I hadn't talked about, and this is, you're so close to it, I don't think that you even really probably thought about it, but you know what? If you're really feeling these things, go see a therapist. Mm-hmm. If you're not seeing a therapist, you need to go. You really do. I mean, this is
I've
where
been looking for one for a minute.
therapists going to therapists, I hear, is the worst combination.
Well, for the therapist, who's the therapist for the therapist.
But
But
I
no,
truly,
a lot of us are in therapy. I
I
mean,
truly do. You know, yes, I've had, I would say the holidays for me personally, I don't feel a lot of grief, but my mother was diagnosed twice with cancer, and those are really scary moments. And they were both 9 years apart, and they were really, really scary and really hard moments. And it was hard for me. And so I started seeing a therapist at that time in my life again. I've seen him prior to that, but that was a big time in my life that I needed to see somebody and talk to somebody. And so, seek out some professional help. Interview your therapist. Make sure it's kind of vibe together. I think that's important too. And ask them. And so how do you find a therapist? Let me just say this: I went to my physician. My physician recommended two. I talked to both of them. I picked the one that I felt more comfortable with, and that is the therapist that I spent about 10 years of my life with. And
nice.
so I recommend getting some type of therapy because they will help you as you're going through your grief. You can also talk to some leaders in your church. They oftentimes have, grief groups or grief counseling, things like that you can go to. And so check that out because you're worth that. Definitely worth that.
Yeah, I think having those support systems, right? Like especially emotional support, like it's very, very, very important. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I have people that I'm seeing twice a week right now
Mhm.
because
Sure.
it's rough, right?
Yeah.
And the connection, right? It's the connection to another person that's important. We as human beings are almost always yearning for connection. So connect, 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 whatever that looks like. Connect during this season that feels appropriate, that's a little beyond your comfortability, that gets you out of isolation or grief or whatever it is. Connect. We
Mhm.
are all on this journey of life, and sometimes life be life in a little too much for some of us.
Yeah.
Yet you will find people who are dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with, and we all can come together and really help each other get through this season.
Mhm. I love this, David. I want to just acknowledge this, maybe a demasking activity for 10 minutes each day. So, just even taking off that mask and telling somebody, I'm not really feeling this right now. I'm sad, I'm anxious, I'm tired, I'm grumpy, I'm overworked, I'm, stressed about the financial constraints of the holidays. I love this idea of being able to say that and saying no to some things, saying, I'm not doing this right now, or I'll go and stay 10 minutes and I'm leaving. Whatever feels great for you. I
Yeah.
think it's important for you to be able to, acknowledge and notice for yourself. So sometimes taking a moment and thinking and like really looking inward at how you are feeling and what do you think you are going to need. And I do agree with Dr. Q, connecting with people, being isolated is not the answer. Are moments for quiet. There are moments for some solitude for sure, but completely isolating yourself is incredibly unhealthy for you. And so finding ways, whether it's just with one person or a small group setting, something like that. Maybe you don't even want all the holiday stuff. Maybe you just don't even want to see the tree or whatever, the menorah or whatever that is, that's your family's traditions. Maybe you just want to go to dinner someplace or go to the movies, something like that just is different for you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you can celebrate any way you your heart desires and loves, right? And you can celebrate throughout the years, right? Like everything doesn't, like celebration shouldn't come at the end of the year during holiday season, right? We should be
Right.
celebrating throughout the year as well. And as we move into the new year, do reflect on how you have taken care of yourself this year.
Yeah.
How you have taken care of yourself this year, and how you're going to move into 2026 in taking care of yourself and improving, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's really important that we take care of ourselves so that we can show up in all the great ways as parents.
Yes.
As we say, parenting in the trenches, right? So take care of yourself so you can take care of others.
That's right. That's right.
So with that, Dr. T, I think this is it. This is our last Parenting in the Trenches, and we will be back.
Year.
Yes, full year. So we do have to get together and figure out what topics we're covering next year. Any suggestions? Thank you so much, everybody, for attending and participating. We got a lot of participation.
We did.
Going on here, right?
Y'all are amazing. Amazing group of people in the audience. Very great. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope that your holiday is exactly the way you want it to be.
And more.
And
more.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
We're gonna end.
Happy holidays.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.